on fire!
In 1977, Metro made its big screen debut in Clint Eastwood's The Gauntlet.
When the movie The Gauntlet with Clint Eastwood was filmed here, they really had access to almost everything at the police department. They filmed all over town.
Hold your fire! Captain should have surrendered. Yep.
Many of us worked overtime on the movie, and even some of us were extras in the movie, Gauntlet, depicting Metropolitan Police officers. But they filmed within the jail here at City Hall.
I don't know, she might have a fever or something.
Many intersections and roadways were used during the chase scenes, and then the one incident where the house was destroyed.
And that house was located near Flamingo and Pecos. In 1978, the first Metro officer was killed in the line of duty. Motor Officer James Rogan was shot and killed during a traffic stop on Paradise Road near St. Louis. Just a year later, Corrections Officer James Harbin was shot and killed on his way to work when he interrupted a robbery in progress at a local convenience store near Charleston and Pecos. Just months later, Police Officer Clark Woldridge was killed in a traffic accident at Bonanza and Lamb when his patrol car collided with another vehicle, overturned, and became engulfed in flames. Both Harbin and Woldridge were 22 years old. In 1979, John McCarthy became the second sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and he immediately faced jail issues.
The consent decree itself said, everything about your jail is unconstitutional, incompetent, illegal, and not to be used in the future.
This is impossible, especially when the first thing on right out of the get-go was you have to reduce your population by 50%.
So on the heels of that good news, another major incident took place. In August, 3 prisoners that were causing problems at county were transferred to the annex at City Hall.
Willie Shaw was in for robbery and was going to do 60 years, was getting ready to be transported to Nevada State Prison. Patrick McKenna was in jail because he was in jail and been convicted of first-degree murder, and while awaiting transport to Nevada State Prison, killed his cellmate. And Felix Lorenzo, we had just about a month prior talked out of a hostage situation. We had 30 patrons in the Nut Hut bar out on Desert Inn Road, so Desert Inn in Paradise. So, I mean, these were 3 bad actors.
You had a bunch of bad characters over there, and only 3 officers, no backup, and it was bound to happen.
The 3 overpowered the corrections officers and took control of the jail.
They would have successfully gotten out, but a patrol unit pulled up downstairs. They were already in the elevator going out, and they ran back up, and that's what began the barricade situation.
Jerry Keller was a sergeant and the lead negotiator of the standoff at the time, and a water fountain actually played a pivotal role.
This water cooler, the condenser, when it would decide to get colder, would make that stand-up square water fountain rattle. And it was adjacent to the wall. And every time that condenser would happen, they would think it was us trying to come through the wall. And we had them convinced, no, we're not coming through the wall. We're going to resolve this, not assault this. Well, at some time, at about the 44th hour, while we were on the phone, talking with Patrick McKenna, I remember him saying, hey, wait a minute, there's that noise again. I think they're coming through. Just hang on a minute. And at that time, all hell broke loose in that jail. I mean, there were shots fired. You could hear them zipping and zinging. What had happened is this condenser had gone off. Willie Shaw and Felix Lorenzo had an argument over what it was. They got into a gunfight, which Patrick McKenna enjoined. They shot and killed each other. At the result of this, Lorenzo and Shaw were dead. McKenna was uninjured. One of our COs had taken a shot in the hand.
McKenna surrendered and spent the rest of his life on death row. He died in 2021 from medical complications. The consent decree, coupled with the takeover, led to the public overwhelmingly approving a bond issue in 1980 to construct what is now CCDC.
Smoke is just billowing out of the main casino area. The palm trees alongside the building are so hot they've caught on fire and are burning at this time. Metro units have got the area surrounded. The fire department seems to be getting somewhat of a handle on it, but there is still a lot of flames coming out of the hotel and the main front entrance area of the hotel, and of course that dark smoke rising up above the city. We have people all the way up to the roof of the MGM.
Officer Tom Mildren was a pilot working air support at the time.
It got very bad very fast, and eventually there was fireballs falling from the area where you would drive into the front of the hotel. It was a canopied covered area. The smoke was just so thick going up the sides of the hotel and coming out the vents on the roof that we just at that point assumed that the whole building was probably going to eventually be fully engulfed, and the people on the roof would have to be removed.
Mildren was working with Sergeant Harry Christopher, who was flying the helicopter at the time. Initially, they were using their PA system to communicate with people on the balconies.
I'm sorry, it's so hot. It's impossible for them to stay in there. That's what they're complaining about. They're telling us that it's just unbearably hot. They have to stay out on them balconies. There's nothing else they can do. All right, for the fire department, if they do get on the ledge, do not attempt to use any of those sheets or blankets to go to another floor. We checked with the housekeeping and that. They're not capable of holding a person going down a floor with them. Advise the people of that.
When they noticed that people were gathering on the rooftop, Christopher landed the helicopter and Mildren got out.
And it was like a floodgate opened. The doors leading to the roof, people just started pouring out. They were, most of them were soot covered. They had this thick black goo around their mouths and noses, and it was, they had towels that they had gotten wet and they were trying to breathe through them. And the smoke was really nasty. It was a thick, sooty smoke.
Right now, above it, we have two major groups on the hotel section of the rooms right now. There's a Metro helicopter, another helicopter landing on the roof, picking up people and taking them down to the ground.
And while I was loading our helicopter, I didn't realize what was happening to Paul's helicopter. They had just stormed it.
Paul was flying the Flight for Life helicopter and was one of the first to assist.
And so as Harry lifted off with ours, I looked over at Paul. And he was close enough to where I could see his expression on his face, and he was not happy. And the people were so full inside his helicopter that all I could see were people. And they were pushing his helicopter towards the edge. There were so many people pushing on the front bubble.
Okay, in that open field to the south of the building, that's where the pony units are going to bring all the people, and there are some of them in pretty bad shape with smoke inhalation. We'd like to have people down there and an ambulance down there in the dirt field between the Aladdin and the MGM.
When the roof eventually emptied out, Tom went inside.
It was very eerie because all you had was a miner's light and you're walking in a dark hotel, and when you'd come across bodies, it was tough.
I remember going down one hall, black, very dark, couldn't see my hand in front of my face. I'm carrying 2 oxygen tanks trying to go down to a fireman who's got, and another rescue prayer guy who's got a person down. And I'm running as fast as I can in the dark, and I trip. When I hit the ground, I turned over and looked back. I couldn't see what I tripped over. And then I pick up the stuff and start to move, and I see 2 eyeballs, 2 eyes staring at me out of the dark. And it turned out it was a maid who was wearing a black uniform with her head with dark hair, and I just didn't see her. And I tripped over her body running down the hall. So you just get the shiver, you pick up, and you just take off again. It was a long day.
Is this really happening? That was the common sentiment February 10th, 1981.
Yeah, we've had a major high-rise fire at the Hilton.
When I first arrived on that scene and saw those flames coming out of those high floors, I figured it was definitely going to be another MGM fire.
Next thing I know, there's a helicopter landing near me, and I'm hopping in it, and they drop me off on the roof, and you kind of wonder, what am I doing up here?
We'd learned the lesson from the MGM fire and recognized that if we were quick about it and used the helicopters, we could rescue some people off the roof.
But it was terrifying experience to walk into a smoky hallway or a stairwell and not be able to breathe or see, and the people screaming, and very terrifying.
8 people perished, over 200 injured, and as tragic as it was no MGM. In November of 1982, John Moran was elected the 3rd sheriff of Metro.
Well and faithfully perform
all the duties of the office.
All the duties of the office.
Of the Sheriff of Clark County, Nevada.
Of the Sheriff of Clark County, Nevada.
Many officers believe that it was at this point Metro truly became unified.
So help me God.
Sheriff Lamb, as long as he was there, it was still the old sheriff's department, and the city people still had their separate feelings and their own agendas and attitudes. And when McCarthy took over, it was a referendum against the old sheriff's department, against the old ways. So there was a rift there between the county and city guys. But when Moran took over, it just ended.
I believe John Moran was pretty much the what was needed to truly bring the department together and start acting as a team. And in a very short period of time, I think it was noticeably evident that you could see a change of attitudes and personalities in not only the line officers, but the supervisory and the command staff too.
Well, that wraps up part 2, but not to worry, our journey will continue as we celebrate the 50-year history of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.